I have that game, but I don't remember how I got it. It was probably given to me at some point. It was probably a free add-on, but I legit have that game, and I'm like, but I know I didn't play it. I just never got around to it. But I was just like, I think it was a free game from I don't know some service, and I was just like, I did play the first one, but the second one I did not touch. Hello, and welcome to another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Joe, and with me, the gentleman who still believes the force is with him, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Doing good. The force or the forest?
Yes.
Okay.
You're going to the woods soon. It has been May 4th. You're a Star Wars fan. You're still the only one I know who's seen like all the movies, and you're still watching some TV shows. It's crazy. So yes, whatever speed you want to be with you. Um,
I
good
guess
luck.
I have seen all the movies. Um, and I've not seen all the shows though. But yeah. Yeah, the force may be with me, you know. We'll see. I will call on the nature gods and frolic through the woods here after a little while. So yeah,
Just
I'm
fall
I'm
into a hole like Luke, and then come back out either eaten by a bear or like a Jedi. One of the two, right?
a bear. Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably not going to do a lot of wandering around in the woods. Um, at least not off the beaten path, so to speak. But um, yeah, Star Wars Front's a little bit better, I think. Andor, I've started watching that again. They're releasing that like, I mean, I think there's going to be 12 episodes, and they're just releasing it like 3 episodes at a time. So I can't even keep up with that right now. But um, yeah, things are things are okay on that front. How are you, Joe?
Doing all right. Yeah, I mean, with the recent Cinco de Mayo, I wish they just announced like, "Hey, guess what? We're all celebrate because it lands on a crappy day. We're just going to celebrate it on like Saturday
Yeah.
instead of like Friday through Monday. Just like one day, let off all the fireworks and just be done with it."
Well,
That would have been more convenient.
well, as we say in my family, it's Cinco de Mayo somewhere. So, yeah, like it was Monday, right? And so it was this past Monday, and so I totally forgot about it. It was in some of my morning meetings, and somebody was like, "Oh yeah, it's Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody," and I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh dang, it is." And yeah, I did end up having some Mexican food, home cooked, because that's what I make a lot is Mexican food, and a nice beer, and yeah, that's how my Cinco de Mayo went. And yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah, it's funny. The just some random Tuesdays I've had just made tacos for the family, and my kids just jokingly said, "Oh, it's Tuesday, Taco Tuesday," just naturally. And I'm like, "Wow, kids, you just market yourselves. Okay, give me some more ideas. Maybe you'll eventually hit something that hasn't been done yet." Uh, but yeah, it's just kind of weird and just hilarious because I'm like, "Please don't make this a thing because we are not doing tacos every Tuesday in this house." Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah. It's I mean, it just rolls off the tongue. Taco Tuesday. I don't know. It's just the way it should be. I mean, it's weird though because like Taco Tuesday is way more of a thing than Fish Friday. I know like traditionally a lot of like I think some religions like don't eat like the other kinds of meat on Friday. They eat fish on Friday. So it's kind of a thing, but I feel like it's always like, well, we're gonna do it this way, but it wasn't like Fish Friday, whereas Taco Tuesday, much better marketed.
I feel like most of the times I see that is like my coworkers who are very selective on religious holidays are like, "It's Passover. Nothing about me is religious, but I'm just gonna pretend to be this way, and then all is forgiven," right? That's how it works.
Yeah,
They're kinda like the CEOs, when it comes to, the Christian church, they're like, yeah, Christmas, Easter, only, like there you go, we're done.
Christmas and
I
Easter
did
only.
my
Yeah.
time for the year, and we're good. And it's just like, all right, guys, uh,
There
you
was
do you, but quit trying to preach to me. That's all I ask.
there was a comedian that I saw a long time ago. I forget her name, but she was like, you should switch to Judaism because like because uh because in Judaism we have a bunch of holidays that like nobody really knows what they're for or why, and so you should be talking to your boss like, yeah, sorry, I can't come in today. It's like it's a holiday for my religion, and they'd be like, which holiday? It's like, oh, sorry, I can't talk on the phone after sundown. Bye, and just like hang up like that. It's like, okay, that's pretty good. Um, so
Uh,
yeah,
that is the American way, to leverage anything you can in your benefit, and then if anyone questions you, sue for discrimination. There you go.
yeah,
Just
that's
life pro tip.
that's how I plan to get rich
All right.
one of these days.
Well, yeah, fingers crossed, right? Lawsuit pending. All right. So, anyways, yeah, what have you been playing? Get running
So
on this.
I have been playing a little game called Nine Souls. I really wanted to wait until I had finished this game, um, but I have a feeling that I don't know that it's going to be. I think I have enough to talk about, and I feel like there's probably going to be enough to talk about again later after I finish it. Um, so Nine Souls came out earlier this year, or wait, I think it was super late last year. Um,
It came out last year, and it came out. I want to say it's been out for about some. I think it was the fall of last year.
yeah, yeah.
I could be
So maybe
completely
not
wrong,
super
but
late, but like October or whatever. I feel like it was somewhere around there. But anyway, so
May 29 of 2024. So it's been
May
about
of
a year.
24. I didn't hear about it until the fall. It came out May of last year.
I'm the one who told you about it in the fall. That's when I heard about it. So yes, that's when I first started looking
I
at it.
remember seeing this game. I don't remember you telling me about it. I remember seeing this this game. Okay. Well, anyway, I ended up buying it for a little bit off. So yeah. Anyway, and I've been playing through it, and by our count I should be a little over halfway, um, or maybe a decent bit over halfway, but by Um, but by some other
You should just count.
metrics, by soul count, I don't think that I am halfway. So yeah, it's that's kind of how it's going right now. Uh, I did not know when I started playing this game that this game was hard. That this was a hard game. So whenever the game starts, it does give you the choice to play regular mode or story mode. Story mode being, it's easy and you just go through or easier or whatever, and you just go through and experience the story. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna play it on normal. So I've been playing through it, and um, there are some things about this game that are they are rage inducing. There are some things about this game that are just very much rage inducing, but I think a lot of that has to do with me getting used to it, like used to the way that the game thinks and used to the difficulty. Um, there's a lot of like early on, there's a lot of things where it's like, okay, I guess I was not expecting the timing on that to be that way. Like there's a lot of the bigger boss enemies, like sub bosses and stuff, where they will like do a sword swing, and you'll be able to like dash behind them or walk behind them or whatever. And when they do the sword swing, they're like charging up, and then you walk behind them, and then they, you know, sling that sword forward. Well, from the back to the front, if you're standing behind them, it counts that like backward as it begins to come forward from behind them. And so there's a lot of things where it's just like you're just really, really is that what we're doing here? So I had to get used to that kind of thing, um, and I had to get used to. I just had to get like really precise on timing and stuff like that, and also I would so I some of these mini bosses in the game I didn't really understand that they were mini bosses, or I just wanted them to die because they made me so mad. And so I would just like throw myself at them like over and over and over and over and over and over again, um, and eventually be able to beat them. I've done this several times, but be able to beat them, but just taking a really long time to do it when I didn't actually have to. Like I could have, like in hindsight, it's like okay, I could have left that area and gone and gained some power ups and stuff like that, and then later come back and had probably an easier time of it. Um, but on the other hand, doing it in a lower powered state, like doing some of those mini boss fights in a lower powered state, um, made me get like really good at at the basic things that you need to be able to do in the game. And so yeah, it's like I'll say that like if you're gonna play this game, uh, it would be wise to do a little bit of leveling up at certain points. There's not like actual levels in the game, but you have different moves and you have different abilities and different power points or whatever that you can expend, and you can just go kill enemies, and it's annoying, but you can just go kill enemies, gain essentially gold, and souls, or ability juice, and then spend that, and it's pretty incremental, but you can get enough where it's like, all right, I was having, I just tried this boss like 5 times, and I only got really close to killing him like 1 time in those 5. So now that I've got this 1 or 2 other little power ups, I can go at it another 4 or 5 times and probably go ahead and make it over that hill. So that's probably what I would do if I was talking to the Nick before I'd actually played it, to me in the past. But yeah, so yeah, it's the game is very rage inducing in certain ways, but it's
a Souls game, man. It has souls in the name. Okay.
yeah, but it's spelled different. So, it has gotten pretty satisfying. Early on, they really slow play, giving you very much of anything. In terms of like normal abilities, like you have to like earn the dash, and I still don't have a double jump. I have like ways to jump higher, but I don't have a double jump. So so they kind of slow play a lot of that stuff, but after I've gotten through the 4th. I've gained 4 souls, so I think that means I have defeated 4 major bosses. I'm trying to think. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 major bosses. And this 4th guy was the hardest of them, but I don't know. Like, there's something about it. Like when I was playing against him, and I was like, man, this is really frustrating. And so I left and I leveled up a little bit, and then I came back, and I started to realize that I was actually enjoying the process quite a bit of fighting him and still losing, but getting to where like okay, I know what I need to do. I know the pattern, or I know that there is a pattern, like kind of getting it narrowed down, and then and like making it over this part, and then making it over this part, and then making it over like this one thing that I like was never able to dodge or counter correctly, and getting to where I could make it over that. And once that happened, I was like, okay, I got this guy, and it was just a matter of time. Um, and so that was pretty satisfying. So that by the time I did beat him, um, you know, it makes you feel pretty good because you really can't mess up. I mean, they have ways for you to have like a lot of health, but you have to you have to spend time to recharge health, and so you kind of have to plan those things out. And it's very easy to get stuck in like a what do you call it? Like just you get if you mess up on the wrong thing or like more than once or like once like really badly, then you just kind of get stuck in this like death loop of their moves, and you're just gonna die, you know. So by the time I actually beat him, you know, I am Neo at the end of the Matrix, just getting every single thing that he's doing just perfect, perfect parry, counter, gain the soul tags or whatever they call them. Um, bang bang bang, build up three. Bang bang, get like two more. Charge in, tag him. Explodes right as he's like charging up, and I do like the new like super timed counter to like knock him back, and it's it's a pretty good feeling when you're just hitting everything like perfectly. It does make you feel pretty kung fu, I would say. So yeah. Anyway, it is hard though. The game is. I didn't really think about it as being like hard until like you and I talked about it a while ago, and you were like, "Oh, I heard this game's like super hard," and I was like, "Oh, I guess it is really hard." And then as I was playing more of it, I was like, "Yeah, this is hard. This is a hard game." So
Well, the fact that you didn't realize that, and then you're like, "Yeah, yeah, I just started it, and I think I'm gonna probably play it to completion." I'm like, "Dude, this doesn't seem like your normal cup of tea because of the way this plays." And you're like, "I didn't know about that." I'm like, "Because I got into it after last year um, when I played the Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, being a difficult Metroidvania, but I really enjoyed it. I just didn't have enough time to really finish it." And looking at other things like that on my radar, that's where I heard about Nine Souls, and I just kind of held off on it for, you know, I had other things to do, and it's one of those things that I didn't necessarily want to put a lot of time into something like that after just finishing or after just playing Prince of Persia. So I was like, all right, and then you started playing this after I finished up The Messenger the other week,
right,
and I was like, "All right, The Messenger." It's difficult, it's challenging, but it's more arcadey. And since I saw that you were getting into Nine Souls, I'm like, "All right, yeah, I'll give this a shot." I'm not sure how much time I can actually dedicate it to, but I was like, I wanted to, finally get around to it. And yeah, it's one of those things that um, most definitely the point of it is you got to learn enemy patterns. And you have, you can once you learn the enemy patterns, it becomes doable. My problem is I just don't like the button layout, the controller layout. It doesn't feel natural to me for some reason. And maybe
right,
I can't really think of why. Like for some reason, I kept multiple times I'd hit circle to dodge. It's R2 for the PlayStation controller, and I just for some reason just my brain would reset to circle, and I'm like, and that does nothing to me. Um, I also dislike that it's R2 to dodge, but to parry it's L1, so it's not on the same level. It's like I'd rather have L2 R2 to be parry and dodge. Kind of, but to have it offset like that irks me. Just and it requires this like a handful of other games. Um, prefer you, I feel, to parry.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
I hate parrying. I really hate
You
parrying.
can't. Yeah.
Ever since I mentioned this in Stellar Blade and stuff like that, and before that, but I was like, parrying is not my cup of tea. I'd rather do a perfect dodge than a perfect parry any day of the week.
Interesting.
That's just how I prefer. Mostly because I think that a dodge will get you out of the way, while the parry is supposed to do the risk reward of like staggering the enemy, then letting you go in for the hit. I wasn't a big fan of Nine Souls, their parry counter system where you put the talisman on them
The
and you have to
talismans, that's what
hold
they're
it
called. Yeah.
just a sec. And it's better once you get the power up to slightly stun the enemy, so it buys you a little more time to activate the talisman. Um, it's one of the earliest perks you can get.
I couldn't remember if that. I think that
And
it's the first one that I had. I thought it was. It's so old to me that I thought that it came with it. So yeah.
yeah, it's very minimal, but it's just enough that you notice the difference.
Oh yeah.
And it of course depends on the enemy. Uh, the Overall, I like it better than something like Hollow Knight. I prefer it much better than Hollow Knight for a handful of reasons. The visual aesthetics, the mapping, I don't really care about. I actually dislike the way the map is because they'll show you like your quadrant, and then you have to zoom into where you are. It doesn't just
Yeah.
naturally zoom into your location. So that extra step is just encumbersome. I'm like, why do that? I know where like you should let me back up to see my overall view, but naturally just have me zoomed in. Um, and the level layout, something about it just bugs me because you'll have there's a lot of games, Metroidvania games, where you'll get to an area and you'll have multiple choices to go through. But this one often, or at least early on, I should say, because I'm not terribly far into this game, but it will cut you off and you're like, "Oh, you now went this route. You are committed to this route until you somehow might make your way all the way back to this hall or this area, and then you can go of one of the other, 3 routes. You went route A, now you have to go either sometimes you wind up being able to come right back. You're like, "Great, now I'll go route B." And then sometimes route B will take you to a completely different zone, and then you'll have to somehow make your way all the way back to that hall and remember, "Oh, yeah, there was route C." It may be a dead end, but you don't know because you never went down it. And that was it felt like more busy work than anything. There was something about it. The way they do certain things like having you parry, and then there's certain traversal mechanics. So there's a hook shot equivalent where you're like they're floating orb. You just hook shot pulls you up, nice and easy. Doom. All right, sure. And then they're like, well, now that there's these other orbs that look just like it, but they're green. Well, for that you actually have to kick off of them. Well, all right, what's the kick button? Oh no, it's actually your parry button where you parry with your hand, but now when you're jumping in the air, that makes you kick. So now you can then parry off of those. I'm like, well, why can't I just attack it or double jump off of it or give me something else? But no, now I have to for that specific icon parry off, like parry off of the item to jump, do the bounce off of. I'm like, okay. Um, and with that same mechanic, you can then jump, kick, uh, unblockable or what used to be a dodge,
The red.
dodge
Yeah.
only attack, the red attack. Red attacks were for dodge, and then white flashes were for parry. And we're like, well, now you can instead of parrying it, you have to jump parry a red attack. And I'm like, it it doesn't feel natural to me. And until I dedicate enough time for it to feel natural, but it's so alienating. It's like you have to learn our mechanics the way we want. Now, the one thing I didn't look up is I didn't look up to see if you can remap the controller. Um, but one of the things I like to do is I like to try to get a good feel for it off the bat. And then because when you unlock the full breadth of all the controls, because once you figure out like all the buttons, you're like maybe there's some science behind it. Maybe you're like, well, this isn't the most intuitive, but it's better because the other buttons are used for X, Y, or Z, like, oh, that feels more natural for those buttons. So these are actually what you get right away, maybe secondary. So it's just
That
like
yeah, they
it's not
probably thought. I mean,
necessarily.
they probably have a reason for why the buttons are where they are and why they are. So yeah, it's good to get. It's like okay, all right, I'll deal with what you have until I understand, and then I'll remap it if I need to. Yeah.
Yeah, I often end up remapping controllers though because if they give me the option, uh, if they have something. to them is logical, but like once again, I just feel like so far it's not as comfortable as I like. Um, the story is fun enough for me right now. The visuals are great. I really like the art style, and that's and honestly though, when it comes to the story, it's kind of like not important for me. I usually am a big story first person. I'm more interested in the fighting right now,
Yeah.
and so it's like so a lot of the extra lore dump. I think one of the things I dislike is it's all none of it's voice acted really,
Mm.
and so because of that, I kind of just like, all right, just let me get to the game. Let me get to the gameplay because the gameplay is really solid. As far as despite me not feeling comfortable with the controller, it still feel like once you learn the enemy attack pattern stuff like that, it's just like it's still rewarding, and like any kind of Souls or difficult, challenging game,
Yeah.
and I just kind of want to get back to the game itself, the core playing, opposed to a lot of the exposition dump. I was just, to be honest, I started skipping it. I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna spam through it because I'm not hearing no one's voice. I'm not connecting with you at this point. I don't care who this extra person is. Forget it. Just let me continue. You know, and that's kind of how I'm feeling about this. I'm more interested in the gameplay than I am in the story, which is funny because that's one of the things I kind of chastised Hollow Knight for. My biggest problem with Hollow Knight is I just didn't like the aesthetic. I mean,
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
the whole dark grim thing, but like this is nice, colorful, bright,
Yeah.
slightly gory.
I mean, their story is sort of like, okay, okay, I see what you're trying to do here. I see that there is a story here. All right, and then, but they try not to do it. They try not to do too much lore dumping, and they have a system of items that you hand over to certain people, and that's what triggers like more story. But and so it's like, well, if you want to save it all up, or if you want to, trickle it through. So I didn't really understand that at first. So I ended up having not too many items, but like 3 or 4 items that I had to give out because I would go off and do my stuff, and then come back with like a bunch of items and be like, okay, and be read it, handing the item over, reading that section and clicking through, going, okay, and I'm just kind of speed reading it and like, okay, okay, next, okay, okay, next, okay, gotta do another thing, okay, and so now I just whenever I get an item, as soon as I need to go back, I just go ahead and go through that so I can kind of drip feed the story a little bit more. Because yeah, I'm on sort of in the same boat where I'm like, I don't really care. The story's is is not bad, but it's not there's not enough of it there to make me feel like I need to experience it. I'd rather everything. Honestly, I'd rather everything in the story just be told like like in the Mega Man style of like you're in the room, they talk, you read through it, and then you fight them, and then you go to the next room, you read through whatever you're supposed to, and you just go that way instead of having to like go back and do all this stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of there with you.
I think it's also because like the messenger there doesn't have a lot of dialogue, but there's certain things that you can kick off that becomes a lot of dialogue. And by the time I played through all that and did all the extra side stuff, and eventually towards the end with the DLC, I was just like, okay, you're trying to make a joke and or you're telling a story. I'm like, I don't care anymore. I'm just skipping you because I'm almost done with this game and I'm
Just,
kind of
I
cabin
just want to be
fever
done.
at this point. I'm like, just I'm ready to bounce. Um, but the game's good, and so it's like, and when it came to but the game I'll be talking about as well, that's all reading. That is just all reading. So I'm like, I'm kind of just burnt out, and so that's why Nine Souls is like it's a good just distraction.
Mm,
And I was just like, I need to take a break. I need to, you know, fight something and have a little more tactile feel. I'm like, this is it.
I mean,
And then the moment it tries to tell me to talk, I'm like, no, dude, that's the other game I'm playing. So
yeah, it's like yeah, this is not. This is like the straw that broke the camel's back. I will say that like like parry counter or the parry talisman system being L1 and R1, it 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 makes sense to me now. I don't know if it always did, but it makes sense to me now. in kind of what the developers are trying to get you to do, because it's like whenever you parry, you gain talismans. So I think their thinking is like you're gonna you're gonna parry, like you're gonna parry, and then quickly, like opposite side of that, just run your tag your talismans on the enemy. So to like offset
Do the
that,
talismans stack?
yeah, they do.
Okay, see, that I think I didn't realize that because I would instinctively tag them with a talisman, but because I didn't hold down the, 'cause in order to set off a talisman, you have to parry and then immediately press the R1 button to pass through them, and then you slap them with a talisman. But if you only tap it, you'll slap them with the talisman, and then you'll have to go back to fighting them. But if you wanted to set off the talisman, the
Explode
moment
and
you
do damage.
parry,
Yeah.
you have to press and hold, the R1 button. They'll pass through them, wait a second, use their chi or something like that, and then set it off. Cool guys don't look at explosion style.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so for me, I'd constantly reflexively parry, and then tap the talisman button and not hold it,
Right.
and then it's just like, "Oh, great. Now it didn't do anything. Now I have to wait for another chance to parry,
I screwed up.
and then
Yeah.
slap 'em then press and hold the talisman," and I've done that so many times. I'm like, "This is, uh, there's I don't know, I feel like you should," I didn't feel like it was necessary to make you press and hold. It's just an extra step just to be
Just
like,
to
"We're gonna make
say,
the mechanics a little more difficult," and that's the difficulty we're doing for you. We're actually making it more janky to make it difficult, and you
so
have to learn how to deal with the jank.
so
Um,
so it's funny because like I was really freaking annoyed by that as well. But there's things later in the game that you can earn that mess with the talisman timing. So it's like, so you don't have to press and hold. Or you can at times, yeah. There's ones where it's like you don't have to press and hold. You can just tag them, but it sets off only a certain number of talismans. So it's like you don't have to press and hold, but it only ever explodes two. So if you have like three, four, or five, then it doesn't do as much damage. And then there's another thing you can get where it's like you can press and hold, and you can burn through all of your talismans. Like if you have like, you'll get more talismans later on. So if you have like five talismans stacked up, you can just like burn through all of them if you hold long enough and just like do massive damage. So that's sort of, so now I'm starting to see like, okay, that's why they wanted it to be that way, because they're giving you these other things that allow you to play with it that way. I think I would have started the other way though, where it's like, here you don't have to press and hold, but you can only burn two. And it's like, oh, here you have to press and hold, but you can burn more, but blah blah. The only other thing that I want to say about this game is the internal damage system is something I have not seen before. I'm sure it's been done by somebody else, but I hadn't seen this before. So basically, it's sort of it's it's a slight punishment or a possible punishment for incorrect parrying. So if an enemy attacks you and you go to parry it, but you time it wrong, it will give you internal damage. So you will so your green bar will go down, but in its place will be, so like that section that you're hurt is not gone, but it's replaced with red. So if you can get out of that situation and avoid taking damage, then the green will come back up to refill the red section. But if you take any real damage, so you failed to block anything, or you just keep screwing up the parrying and it goes and all your green goes away, then you can still die, or you can still turn that into external damage. So basically it's like so it took me a long time. Like I didn't really realize that until very recently. I think basically until this like fourth boss fight is like when you perfectly parry uh, the way that you're supposed to, you don't take any internal damage at all. You don't take any damage at all. But and so I was like, oh, okay. So I really need to start timing these things ultra super perfectly. But it is kind of a nice little leeway because it's like because the talisman system you are so dependent on, you can fail to do a proper parry, so you take internal damage, but you still gain a talisman from like from having the thought to do it properly. You know, you tried to, and so you can gain that talisman. You can you can gain a couple talismans. Oh, I screwed up on like two of those, and I have like all this. I have like internal damage, and then you run your talisman and freeze them, make it explode. So you do a bunch of damage to them, dodge away, and then maybe make the enemy come back to you while your internal damage heals back up at least a little bit. Um, so
Yeah, the
it
internal
so
damage is essentially the Marvel versus Catcom, equivalent of you take a massive amount of damage right away, you sub out a character, the character sits in the background while healing. That's it's a fighting game mechanic that's kind of been around for a while. In this case, it's like yes, I mean it mostly only initiates because of the parry system or failed parry attempt, and they at least give you pity talismans for it. But the Yeah, it's very much a an old fighting game mechanics where like, yeah, well, I'm now technically on the recovery, so I'm gonna try to
yeah, I forgot about
if
that.
this guy's beefy,
Hmm.
I'm gonna kind of try to dodge him for a while, buy myself a little time to try to recoup that. So yeah, that's it's a nice mechanic to have. And once again, it's like this game has a lot of decent things behind it. I haven't been challenged. I mean, I feel like this game, it gets uh, when I first heard about it, going, like a lot of people were like, "Yes, it's a Metroidvania, but it's like a Souls like. The bosses are like you have to learn the bosses," and I'm like, "All right, cool." Knowing that it's a Souls like, you're like, "All right, that means you're gonna have to recover your when you die, you're gonna have to recover your stuff," and it's actually quite easy to recover. Like if you die, you just have to go back to where you were, and then you can quickly, even if there's a tough enemy there, you can just quickly dodge past them and hit circle, grab your credits. You're like, okay, that's good, because like one of the first bosses that anyone dies at, I think the trophy for that is like revenge or something like that, or some sort of pun off of revenge, which I found it really funny because I'm like, yeah, they're expecting most people to die at least once at this person.
Hmm.
Um, I'm like, that's clever. Especially if you're someone who's not as comfortable with Souls like games. Or for me, the reason why I don't like to parry is because I don't have the patience to really study an enemy. That's why I'm bad at Tekken. I mean, I like Tekken a
Yeah,
lot, but I'm not that kind of person to block and wait and kind of I'm more of a just I'm one step above button mashing. It's just like if you let me attack is offense is the best defense. Just go guns blazing. That's what I prefer, and that's why I prefer a dodge because a dodge is just to evade to the side or to avoid the attack and then turn around and dish out the damage. So when you make me parry, it becomes a exercise in futility, and I'm and it's just like all right, I understand. I hate you for it, but I understand, and it doesn't. It's I don't dock a game for it. It's just it's a me thing. So that's
yeah,
all there is to it.
not the kind of gameplay that you like to play. I mean, that's fine. Yeah, it is. It is a game that
Despite that, I still like this game. This game is still fun. I'm not, despite every my complaining, I actually still like this game so far.
give it time, because you might change your mind on that point.
Uh,
It's it's one of those games that that I finally started to have more fun with when I was like, okay, I'm going to lose. I'm going to like. I am not even going to like this boss. Like whenever I was fighting this fourth boss, I was like, I understand that I am not going to even come anywhere freaking near close to beating this guy. Um, this first time through like the 20th or 30th time that I go try to fight him, I am just trying to learn the pattern that I can see in front of me. And then once he goes to his next form, I'm going to learn that pattern and just try to pay attention and figure out like what the next thing is. And once I got that to that in that mindset, I was like, all right, all right. So I was able to calm down and actually focus on what I needed to do. So yeah,
See,
it's a good game though.
for me, I do like a good challenge, and but I just prefer it to look the game to look good. So that's the thing is like the whole Souls games aesthetics being like all dark, grim, and monstrous. I'm like, that's not. If I'm gonna be banging my head against something, I'd rather bang my head while playing something like a Stellar Blade or God of War. Because the God of War Valkyrie fight, I did that. I got the platinum on that, uh, and I beat it on the highest difficulty and stuff like that, and that was rewarding. Uh, yes, it was. You grit your teeth and you cursed a lot while playing that specific Valkyrie fight. I guess it's like the optional and the hardest fight in that game, the God of War remake. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, when it comes to knowing what you're getting to, that's fine. And it's when I do something like play uh the messenger and do the DLC, and there's only two boss battles, and the first boss battle is for some reason ridiculously hard, and there's no real indication of how close I am to beating it, but I must be getting close. And when I'm looking at other people on YouTube playing it, they are doing far less damage than I've been, or at least it seems that way, and they're beating it in far less time than I'm spending. And they're taking their freaking time, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And I'm just like getting obliterated. That was rage inducing because of the fact that it wasn't a like the pattern was easy enough, but I feel like there was something broken about it. Um,
Yeah.
while the rest of the game was challenging, but not impossible, and it was rewardingly enough. But it's not meant to be a Souls-like game. It's not meant to have that kind of boss interaction. It's mostly meant to chain combos, chain attacks, use your skills, and there's not a game like a parry system. But when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to Stellar Blade, I beat that on the highest difficulty, got the platinum on that as well, and found that awesome. It was difficult, but at the same time, you put enough time into it and you built yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I felt that control felt more natural. And once again, once I play enough of this to make it feel second nature or to see if there is a control, I doubt that in the fingers crossed I can switch the some of the controls, but I doubt there is. Metroidvania games don't really let you a lot of times switch out
Yeah.
button schemes. But anyways, if I can, great. If not, whatever. But if I can at least learn it, that might help me. And once I get like comfortable with it, um, but once again, with the talismans, I was just it took me a while to learn to just after pairing, then just to press and hold R1, pass through, activate the spells, and that's fine. As far as the healing goes, you were mentioning before, that's per Souls game. I mean, you have your healing flask, vial,
Yeah.
whatever, healing MacGuffin. Even the Star Wars games have it. It's just like, all right, whatever you do, you have to take the time to heal.
You have to
It's a
earn the
risk
heal.
reward
Yeah.
system. Yeah, exactly. And in this one, it's just like, yeah, you're gonna smoke a peace pipe. Cool. All right,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just like I found that kind of funny. I'm like, all right, that's an interesting MacGuffin there. I am interested to see what else they offer. This game seems like it'll have a decent amount of things, but for me, I'm still pretty early. I'm just far enough in where I'm like, I think I'm about I've fought a couple of mid bosses. I don't think I haven't fought any major characters. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And but that's the problem is I end up with Metroidvanias doing a lot of backtracking, if I can, because I was mentioning before my irritation about the map layout being like, okay, well now that I have this thing, I'm going to go back to the beginning, or and then now that I know I can access these points I wasn't able to access before. One of the early things was like you can either drop down or go to the right. Well, I'm like, okay, well, let me go to the right first, and then you drop down, and you're like, oh yeah, you can never go back to the left, not until far later. I'm like, well, that sucked.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, they kinda
because
do.
it's
Yeah.
right before you find your oasis or your safe space. I forget
Mhm.
what they call it. Your camp essentially.
Yeah.
And so then you have to eventually learn a new skill to then backtrack. Um, so it's just like, wow, that's annoying. I mean, but like I said, you have to keep that in memory.
Right.
Uh, Prince of Persia, Lost Crown, uh, cannot give enough kudos to the photo system they had in that game where if you came to a locked door or something weird, you could just take a screenshot of it, and it would put it on your mini map to be like, hey, it's like this is a glowing red thing or something like that. And you're like, eventually, when you're like, oh, I know how to get past the glowing red thing, then you can double check all your photos and be like, oh, here's the red thing here, here's a red thing there, and then you just know where to go. It
Yeah.
streamlined that process.
I don't think there's
Um,
too
you
much.
know,
I mean, I think this game isn't going to be too much on the like secrets and stuff. Like, it's a little bit. I think it is a little bit light on the Metroidvania side of the Souls stuff. I mean, I know that's the format, but like the trappings, of like, oh, there's this little tiny like crawl space here that you like have to really look closely at the map to like see, oh, there's this one little spot there. There's doesn't seem to be too much of that, but and they do have like a clue system that you can earn. You can get like map data from certain
okay.
characters, but they really should. Every single one of these games that are even this map dependent need a marker system on the map. It's like you need to let me have a free roaming cursor and have some kind of marker. It doesn't have to be like 50 different things. It can, but it just some little like, hey, you can put a star stamp here, and you have infinite number of star stamps that you can put whatever. Just let me be able to do that so I can go, what is this? And circle back to it, do it again. Oh, there's nothing here, and then remove the star stamp or whatever. There needs to be every single one of these games need to have a system like that, and this one, I don't think that it does. I'm pretty sure that it does not. So yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else you gotta say about this one?
No, no, that's good for now. I'll probably be
Okay.
bringing it up again later.
Yeah, it's most definitely a fun game. It's challenging, but as far as if you're a fan of a Hollow Knight or anything, a Metroidvania with a difficulty or a learning curve, then most definitely this is probably up your alley. Um, I did find enough hidden things, but they were only like, extra currency and stuff. It's not like, it's not like a Metroidvania where like you found a new weapon or you found some awesome, super great thing. It's just, extra bonus little nuggets here and there is mostly what I found at my early stages. All right. Well, that was Nine Souls. Now I've been playing a different Souls game. This is a story from Soul, the Gundog, and this is more or less like a part one.
Point of reference that the soul in both of these games is spelled the same, SOL. So that's weird. Anyway, please
Well,
continue.
mine's about space, so that makes more sense when on a solar system level. Your soul is just trying to
It's
avoid
not
getting
a
sued,
it's
I
not a
think, is what it
competition.
is.
It's
Um,
just an observation.
yep. Well, yours did come out first, I suppose. This
Mm,
game came out back, at least, I believe last February,
okay.
and February of 2025, and it's a visual novel. Essentially, is what it is. It's so
Yeah, what drew you to this game? Because something
Yeah, alright.
about it.
I was getting to that, yeah. So for this, um, I'm a fan of old, visual novels. I got they got my hooks in me from, probably, like, one of the earliest ones is, Snatcher, one of Hideo Kojima's earliest works. I played it on the, Sega CD, and it did make its way to the PlayStation 1, but it was originally that game was a PC, like, '88 game. Uh, well, Stories from Seoul is specifically designed to make you remember the PC like 98. And that's awesome. I just absolutely love that. It's the the PC 9800. It's a There was a lot of games that came out like visual novel style stuff that came out. Anime, it's essentially just anime games. Um, and the concept of this one, the story is you are a there's been an intergalactic war, Earth versus um, the joined forces of Mars and the outer system, like Federation, essentially. So there's been a ceasefire, and your main character, like fresh new cadet, baby faced, uh, supposed to get some training to be a pilot for an armor. I think they call them armor frames here, and they're like, yeah, it's like you barely got you did basic training and you got most of your flight training via sim, via like video game thing, and they're like, yeah, we're ready to put you out there. There's a big battle right outside of the moon between the moon and the Earth or whatever. Good luck. And his squad is flying out, and then his unit number 5 gets jammed on the way out, and he's just stuck there, like not being able to eject out of their unit or the bay. And then his squad then seemingly gets wiped out. Their surprise attack gets flanked, wiped out. He's just stuck there as the maintenance crew is trying to free him. He's waiting for reboot, and he's just stuck there in darkness. So turns out that was the last battle, and there was a ceasefire arranged. He was then transferred to different companies, but his entire squad got murdered out there, and he now gets to suffer for some lovely PTSD about it. And now throughout his career in the next couple of years, he then becomes a security officer, and then he's reassigned to the Gundog. It's a Swift class vessel, which more or less is just a high speed spaceship meant for exactly that speed. And what's kind of interesting is he then the lieutenant commander, so like the number 2 in charge, is his girlfriend, and she pulled some strings to get him reassigned to that ship. They've been together for what seems like a couple of years, and they've just kind of had a mostly distant relationship, and then occasionally meet up from time to time. This is the first time they've gotten to be stationed together on the same vessel. And so yeah, it's this game starts off right away. If you ever you just pull up images of this, it's very much 80s anime. It's great. It hits me in the nostalgia feels. I like the concept that it's going for. When you go to um, the the graphic settings are something else because they have like 3 different settings. The first setting is Dojin mode. So Dojinshi being like just the old school comic or just comics in general. It's fan comics.
It's like a
But
bootleg
back then,
comic. Yeah, it's like yeah,
um, that's what the fan part is. Yeah,
yeah,
so it's fan made comics. It is all stuff. It's essentially the stuff you'd find off of Pixiv or something like that, right?
yeah.
It can be uh, it can be adult oriented or not. And anyways, but it specifically has a graphical style that makes it look old, like kind of 80s anime style, where it's more rounded facial features, rounded hair, bigger eyes. It has a very distinct vibe it's going for. And then, of course, because it's reminiscent of the old PC 98, it's like, yeah, we're gonna make it all that essentially Game Boy Color green. It's just
All
because
right.
it's an old green CRT. We're also they throw up the scan lines if you want it. And then I forget what the next visual setting is, the graphic setting, but essentially it's uh the quote unquote like more modern setting, but it's still the green hue. So if you want to still play it like you're playing it on an old school monitor, like the old way set up, and then from there you can then choose the highest graphical setting, which is that second art style but colored. And I found that hilarious. I'm like, yeah, that's great. I played it in color because that's just the way I wanted to play it. I didn't want to. I'm like, I'm not going to wreck my eyes for this. They give you 2 different font sizes. They give you current like modern font and like classic font. Classic font is like big and bulky, and I'm like, that's great. I just looked at modern font, and it's on a 4K TV. It is a single pixel like wide. It's like, man, that is hard to read. It is probably great for a monitor, but when you're playing it on a TV, I'm like, that is ridiculously like straining on my eyes. So
Wow.
yeah, classic font it is. Anyways, this game, classic visual for anyone who hasn't played a visual novel, the best ones I can explain are things like maybe an Ace Attorney,
Mm,
franchise from the Nintendo series. You have things, the Nonary games. Was it? I think it's 999, which or the zero sum games.
mhm.
Anyways, those Nonary games are kind of a great example. Kind of Danganronpa even, which is also another murder sim in visual novel form.
Yeah.
But then you have classic dating sims, as well. Anyways, these games usually have a bunch of dialogue, and then you have choices to make, which would be branching paths, some more decisive than others, and, usually have multiple endings because of that. Um sometimes depending on what they do, um, some of them might have more serious or like a hidden ending, a true ending. Uh, One of the ones that was very popular a long time ago was Hot to Full Boyfriend, where all
Yeah.
your girl going to school and all your boyfriends characters were pigeons, like
Yeah.
Photoshop or stock photos. I'm sorry, stock photos of pigeons, which is hilarious. You could play with a graphical setting where they anamorphized them, so they made them look like boys. But still, it was just super funny to play as to see pigeons. And recognize, oh, that white pigeon, yeah, that one's a doofus. He's pretty funny. I kind of enjoying his character. But anyways, the in this game, yeah, it's just you're going through as you're now the security officer to this ship.
Right.
Uh, your job, your goal, the ship's objective is to go out to space, and there is a signal on the fringes of your territory, and one of your other vessels, the O'Brien, happens to be there and get like investigating, and you're there to provide support. You later kind of figure out, okay, well, if it's something bad, then you guys can book it. If one of you gets destroyed, then hopefully the other ship makes it home. But if it's nothing, then you guys are fine. But you're just there to provide support essentially, and the plot kind of thickens as you go. Turns out one of your crew members is the only other surviving member of your first outing during that lunar battle, and they consider you a coward because you never fought.
Right.
And that person literally being the sole survivor after getting ambushed, like they have apparently had to play like cat and mouse, and they slowly took out their opponents in like a 12-hour stint,
Mm,
like through debris and everything. So they are a decent pilot, apparently, if you take it at that, and they absolutely hate your guts. Essentially,
mm.
is how that
They're
goes.
like they're your
Uh,
rival, essentially.
yeah, yeah.
Nemesis.
They're just more like they're more like a slight antagonist because
Okay.
they're there to butt heads with you.
Right.
You have There's only like 10 members, including yourself on the crew. You have yourself like um, essentially like the radar or the gunnery specialist. You have chief engineer, their number two in command. You have three people on the flight deck: the captain, lieutenant commander, and the lieutenant. You have the one armor frame pilot, the that one ensign, and you have a secondary ensign who's another pilot of the other frame, and the doctor, I believe, and I believe that's it. So once again, very simple premise. You have to do a lot of reading in this. Uh,
Yeah. Imagine
Now,
so.
yeah, it is a ton of reading. It's actually really enjoyable. It's a good story. I found it to be engaging. It hits multiple different things. It's not just you kind of think it's going one way, and then it kind of expands, and then it kind of twists, and then you're like, all right, this is kind of entertaining. Now, other other games in this genre sometimes might, especially with the old PC format, would auto save or like have chapter markers. It's like, uh, or they this at least what it does is it gives you a lot of save spots. So at any major decision, if you really want to, you can just kind of save at that point. And then if you want to see what the decision outcome is, or if you ever need to go back to it later on, you can do that. So you can be very, it's very free form when it comes to saving, which is kind of nice. So I went ahead, played through the game, got my ending, enjoyed it. Then went ahead and looked through the trophy list, found some other stuff. So I kind of knew from there. I'm like, okay, I can kind of back up, and I think it's going to be around here. The problem with a game like this is it's still pretty new, and there's not a lot of guides out there. So if you have questions or something that, unless if you want to watch someone else do a full playthrough,
So it's
so
new and it's niche, and so there's not people who are like, "Hey, here's a spoiler-free guide." Go.
yes.
You're here
So
now. This is where to get. Yeah. Okay.
And then at the end of the game, what it did do is at one point, it kind of showed me a layout of my story path. It doesn't tell you what your options are, but what it does is it shows you by nodes. It kind of shows you like, and by looking at it, I'm like, what am I exactly looking at? And then I realized, oh, it's showing me um, my different options, and it's showing me that I went with like there was only one option, so like option one. And then it said there's four. They showed four nodes, and it showed me that I clicked option node number two, and I thought about it, I'm like, there's only 3 options on that one. Ah, but there was a 4th secret option where I used my stun gun on somebody. It was an
Uh,
option to go to your items and just tase that jackass, and you're like, "Yeah,
mm,
that was good." Uh, but you could do that one. So they have some secret options opposed to what's there right in front of you. And then you kind of but the thing is, unless if you actually remember the order of everything, as you're looking through that, you're like, "Okay, I'm not sure because it's like, I chose option out of two, one of two, one of two, two of one of two, and you're like, I have no idea where that is in the story. And then every now and then you like, this is a 3 or 4 option one. I'm like, okay, I think I know where that is, depending on where it is on the time graph.
right.
Um, so a lot of other games will do as you're playing through. It lets you play multiple times, lets you choose the other options to see the outcomes, and it will save your progress. Um, for some reason, if it does this, it didn't do it for me because when I played through it again, I chose a different ending path. I choose mostly the same. And then once you're playing through it, you can like burn through a lot of dialogue real quick. It's a lot of just hitting the trigger. And I fortunately did not realize this until the end of my first playthrough, towards almost the very end, because I was trying to figure out on the PlayStation, where do you pull up your dialogue history? I'm like, they don't have a button layout for you, and so they have X to proceed. You can spam X to jump through the dialogue real quick. But what happens is the right trigger is also to fast forward dialogue. So sometimes when you get tired and you put the controller down too hard on your lap, it might accidentally
Oh.
trigger fast forward in the dialogue. And every now and then you're like, "Oop," I'm like, ah, dang it. And I tried pressing the thumbsticks down. I moved the thumbstick, hit the button, hit the touchpad, and like nothing. I'm like, there's no way for me to look at my previous dialogue. Every other game pretty much lets you look at your previous dialogue. Why isn't there a section to the side that says looks at my log and look up? And it wasn't until like super late in the game at one point, it's just on my lap, and I'm just kind of loosely playing, that I accidentally hit up on the right thumbstick only up on the right thumbstick, and then also boom, there's my dialogue. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Like, because every now and then I'd just be exhausted, and I'd be reading it, I accidentally like click too soon. I would miss the end of a sentence or something. It wasn't necessary, but it was just like, ah, dang it. Or like I said, occasionally I'd accidentally just burst through a bit of dialogue, and I'm like, if they had just a simple button layout and it didn't have the stupid press R2 to fast forward, because it's like anyone who's played DVDs off the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 knows that if you put down the controller too hard, that it'll sometimes hit the trigger the R2 buttons, and it'll fast forward your movie as you're playing, and then it takes you a while to reassess. I'm like, this
Oh,
is
that's
this is silly.
irritating.
Uh,
Yeah.
so, anyways, yeah.
So they don't have a
Oh.
place in the game like there where you can go and look at what all the buttons do.
When you go to the options, like I said, the first thing for the options is choosing like the quality of the game
Yeah,
style,
yeah.
which I
But
found
it,
interesting. But the rest of the stuff is like it was a little bit of audio, and there was some other stuff, but there was zero button layout. The game case itself.
no matter how
Okay,
stupid
it
and
takes over.
obvious you think
Yeah,
that your button layout is, you should still just have a layout. Just have a layout. Just have a layout. That's all. Just
I mean, it
you
once
you
again, even
have
if
to
it's just
have it.
three buttons.
When you made the game, you had it. You gave it to everybody, all your employees when you made the game. Give it to me too.
Well, yeah, it's just like, especially I'm like, with a game like this, it couldn't have been that hard to let you reprogram the buttons how you wanted it, because I would have deactivated the triggers in a heartbeat. Uh, the only reason why it became better, like it was nice to have the R2 as the dialogue advanced later on, is I felt bad just smashing my X button the entire time as I was playing through later on. I'm like, I know this dialogue smash, and then occasionally, luckily there's enough pause that usually you don't accidentally trigger a dialogue sequence and then burst through like top choice, boom. Like it doesn't really let you do that. At least I didn't get to do it, but there's a safer option, and that's if you spam the R2 button, and if you're just fluttering that trigger as up and down as fast as you can, and then when you get to a dialogue choice, that doesn't activate the dialogue option, so there's no way that you can if you're just doing the trigger, you can't accidentally choose an option. You have to physically hit X. I'm like, that's nice. That is one praise on that. But that was like the only real annoyance I had with it. So after starting to clean house with some of these trophies, once again, I found they had some fun options and for the trophies. But then the last trophy I'm trying to get, I'm looking at this and it's just like, um to choose to choose to side with somebody and to like see that story to the end. And I'm like, huh, okay. So I kind of had a feeling I knew where it was. I had a save state, so I'm like, I'm just gonna go load that save state because that was a major decision point. And from there I was just like, okay, I wasn't 100% sure. I was starting to work this out. Then I'm like, wait a minute. This branches here into like three different things. So I accidentally chose a different branch. And then I started going with that one for a while. I'm like, oh, wait, I'm pretty sure I chose the wrong thing. But I'm like, this is wild because it gives me so you had the main story. I double backed, chose an alternate route. From that alternate route, it then branched off to three more things, which is not substantially different at the core of the game, it's not substantially different, but it is a lot of friggin' dialogue difference because you 'cause you're now cruising with different people, through certain segments of the game, and you're essentially reliving the same thing, and you got the same core objectives, but how those core objectives get done are different.
Mm,
Um, I was having to distract somebody with my first character that I picked incorrectly, in this route, and I'm like and then for them, they tried to awkwardly engage and cover for me. I'm like, "Okay, that's kinda funny and that's neat." And then we continued on while I chose somebody else, and they're like, "I'm gonna pull out my gun," and they're like and you're like, "Dude, do not do that. That is not" like, they went, like, full aggression, and it was really funny, but it
mm,
was vastly different in that sense. This my point A to point B was still the exact same. I still had to do the exact same thing. When I get to the puzzles, I know the answers to them already, but it was just like, so if you certain points I'm like, yeah, I'm going to skip through the non-dialogue options because I don't necessarily need all the flavor text at this point. But also, I've played this game for a handful of time now. I'm like, I'm kind of good. I just want to see. I want to read what the actual banter is.
okay.
But there's a lot of in between stuff that but this is the last trophy I'm getting. I'm getting the platinum on this, and I've enjoyed the hell out of this game. This is like a part one, though. That's the only problem. It is most definitely this. The story finishes once again. I'm not sure how this alternate ending is. To the best of my knowledge, this game does not have a secret ending, or at least no one's talking about it, and it leaves it wide open for a sequel. Whether or
Okay.
not this gets a sequel, who knows? Um, so this is done by a group called it's developed by Space Colony Studios, which doesn't seem to have done anything else. But according to Steam, it's Astrolab Games is one of the developer or publishers for this. And when you try to click on Space Colony Studios, it brings you to Astrolab Games.
Right. Yeah.
That's where the link brings you to. So I'm like, okay. Um, and they do a variety of things. Like it's kind of like they're kind of public. They're like a mini version of. was it Devolver Digital, where it's just wildly vastly different. It's not like all the same. It's not like all just visual novel stuff.
Unique indie games, unique
Yeah.
style games, simple, not, big set piece blockbuster type games, but hey, we got a weird idea, let's run it, kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing is I'm curious if they have so a lot of these games once again, if you complete all the nodes, all the routes, and you fill out the whole chart of I've chose every option, which like sometimes a core game will make you only have the find the max amount of endings, and then they'll give you when you play it again, they're like at some point in the game they're like surprise, this game is taking a hard like 90-degree turns off the ravine, and you're like you have no idea what's going on. Uh,
Mm,
That's what it'll do sometimes, or at least things will click in and be like, "Yes, you've gotten enough information. Now we're giving you, we're flushing this out better." Like that's cool. So, uh, I'm not sure if there's that for this game, and because when I played through it the second time, it didn't seem to fill out my map, my story quests, like the dialogue choices, any different, and so I'm kind of unsure about that. Um, Maybe it was, maybe I did something wrong. There's not like a new game plus feature that I'm aware of. It's just when you hit start, you go back, or you can load your old save. That's it. Start or load.
mhm.
So, um, yeah, I really want there to be a sequel, though. I mean, this was a fun thing. It was interesting just to watch, and to go through. It had the right visuals, the right soundtrack, the right tension. It reminded me a lot of, like I said, a lot of Snatcher. It brought me back to those. Like now, Hideo Kojima's Snatcher or like Police Knots. Um,
Right.
these, uh, so it's an adventure. It has, I'm kind of curious exactly how much of it matters. That is another thing. Sometimes you choose a dialogue option, and I feel like if I chose the other dialogue option, you could say the same thing. You know, there's
Yeah,
some of that smoke and mirrors. I think.
that is sort of a dirty secret of video games is it really usually almost always leads back to the same place. It's extremely hard and very um, inefficient as far as like making money goes to have branches of a game that significant portions of your audience will never ever see or play. So they yeah kind of have to. It's like an illusion of choice a lot of times.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like I said, this one is I find it the story being a sci-fi setting, I'm a sci-fi fan. And I'm a fan of the old school anime stuff. So this is just all the hitting the right notes for me. Uh and once again, I thought it was going to be a simple story. I thought it was going to be kind of straightforward, point A to point B. Um I kind of figured out certain things pretty early on, but at the same time enough twists happen and enough just different things. So yeah, I recommend if any of that sounds interesting to you to check it out. Once again, I find this is also on everything. It's on quite a different platforms. So it is on
Right.
PlayStation, 4 and 5. It's on PC, but it's also on Switch. And I think this is actually a perfect Switch game.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Because
this is probably gonna run well and be fun to take around and read on the train or whatever.
yeah, because this is one of those games that there's no real interactive moments. There's only a handful of moments where it's like kind of decision time based. Uh, but for the most part, like Snatchers had a couple moments where it was meant to be like a shooting thing, and you could actually use the for the Sega CD, you could actually use the light gun, which
Wow.
makes it like it makes it really interesting but really difficult because there's a couple areas that were just broken in that game, or at least for the Sega CD, where I remember cheesing my way through with a turbo controller just because it was a 9 grid system, so
Right.
3 by 3 by 3, and enemies would come at you from any of those certain quadrants. Um, and that's where the light gun would kind of come in handy, but it was kind of janky as hell. And if you tried using a controller, you would kind of not have enough time to fire, and it took time. So there you had the turbo controller, turn that bloodsucker on, full blast, just spam everything you can as fast as you can, and that was the way to make through those broken sections. At least on Sega CD. They might have
Okay.
fixed that for the PlayStation, and I'm not sure how it played on the original PC 88. So, uh, but once again, it's just like it was a fun thing, has a good vibes, and if you're just look at it, all you have to do is look at it, be like, "Hey, that's up that looks cool." There you
If
go.
you like the way
If
it
you look at it and be like,
looks,
"That looks dumb," then just
it's
walk
like
away.
it's like the old Men's Warehouse commercial. You're gonna like the way you look, but not.
Yeah, it's only
Yeah,
15 bucks on Steam. It's pretty cheap. I forget, I was gonna mention too, like, was it
right.
9 Souls is currently on sale on Steam for, like, 40% off or something like
Of
that,
course,
so,
I think it was
uh,
only like
yeah.
I think it was originally like I think I bought it for like pretty much full price, $25 maybe. So it was I think it was on a tiny discount. So
So
good for you.
it's 30 bucks normally, 30 bucks normally,
Yeah.
9 Souls on PC on Steam is 18 bucks right now, 17.99
Okay.
US. Alright, and on that note, we're gonna go ahead and skip what we've been watching because we're pressed for time, but we're gonna go ahead and jump to the news, and so Nick, what did you get for us?
Yeah, so there's quite a few little things that happened this week and last week. We recorded just slightly too early to catch some of this, but it bears going over. So first thing up is GTA 6. What we missed last week, recording just a little bit too early, was the release date was finally announced for I didn't look closely enough to see if there's actually a day, but um, of the month. But the release date for GTA 6 is May of 2026. So
I
a
believe
lot.
it's May 26, 2026.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. Um, so 05, 26, 26. Interesting. I wonder what the thinking is there. So I think pretty much everybody in the industry was thinking it was going to be this fall, um, which so a lot of people were excited about that, and we were all kind of talking about, any big game, kind of needs to watch out for when their release date is if they're planning for the fall, like Ghosts of not Tsushima, but
Yote.
Yo
Yote.
Yote. That's it. Like Ghosts of Yote, where they better watch out, being so close to very bold, put their thing right in October, right whenever GTA 6 might be coming out. I have a sneaking suspicion that um, that among developers, especially high level developers, that the GTA 6 release date not being in the fall at the very least might have been more widely known among the developer class of people. But that's
Well,
just my
it
thinking.
was so the only thing that people had to go off of, I think, really, was, Borderlands, because Borderlands 4 has the release date of September, so you kinda figured that they wouldn't being Take-Two, they wouldn't necessarily be trying to snuff one game with the other, uh
Oh yeah, so it's like, oh, we don't want our two games competing against each other. So yeah, that kind of makes sense. Where it's like that's a canary in the coal mine. Yeah, to be sure.
Yeah, so the only thing that would make sense is everyone was thinking more towards the fall. So, being September 12th for Borderlands 4, uh,
That's almost the
it
fall
wouldn't make
though.
really sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Well, at the same time, you're like, well, it wouldn't be August then. So October would be the only thing, but you'd kind of want it's like it feels like
more
it's almost a
time.
little too late for the year.
Oh really?
It was kind of yeah, so they weren't really sure, but people were it was that was the thing is it's either gonna be like a month early or a month late because anything within a month is too close to Borderlands. Uh, so yeah, that was the only thing you kinda had to really go off of. And
I mean, that's
hey,
like the
I
public.
mean,
And I think that's actually something pretty good to go off. I do kind of remember them talking about that. I think that within the industry, though, there's a lot of things that people that like. There's a lot of open secrets in any industry. I mean, there's a lot of things where it's like, yeah, that's not official, but and then nobody, and maybe even nobody even talks about it, but everybody just kind of knows, you know. So something, a big game like that, it seems like there would be a lot of elbows rubbing in San Francisco and stuff, and people being at bars being like, yeah, I don't think that's going to come out in the fall. I think it's going to be a little bit later. And then other people, you know, who are in those rooms going like, oh, okay, so we can probably put our game out then in the fall and not have to worry about it. I don't know. That's just my thinking. But
Yeah,
anyway,
Rockstar is, I believe, in New York though. Uh,
okay. Well, New York,
but
everything's
the other thing
international
is
now, right?
Rockstar's very good about keeping their mouth shut. Um,
Yeah,
so
everybody is.
dude, Rockstar like has been better about most other than most companies about keeping things under wraps because they probably, you know, they're the ones who probably bring more penalty to their own employees. Um,
I
so
think
when it
it's
comes
more of
to
an
like the
upper. It's an upper management sort of thing. That's what I would guess.
well, people like to leak, especially nowadays. It's
Yeah.
such a hard thing to keep things under wraps. So and to the point where anytime a leak happens, you're like, was that really a leak or was that just a strategic announcement that, you know? But
It,
it's under scandal, it gets more, you know, buzz if it's
it
a
gets
leak.
clicks. Yeah,
Um,
that's what every freaking article, especially on Kotaku, is. Oh, the new things from Xbox just leaked, and it's like this is an ad. This is not a leak.
well,
You, yeah.
Also, if you remember with GTA 5, being pushed back isn't a big surprise. I mean, because GTA 5 was like originally knocked back like a year plus or something like that. Because, well, it got pushed back a couple of times. I remember it was like originally scheduled for like fall of 2021 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was no, I'm sorry. It was scheduled to be pushed back. Like it ended up getting delayed like twice or three times total, at
Mm-hmm.
least. And people were very upset, very surprised. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. And like, why? Why can't you believe it? It's not that surprising that GTA, one of the biggest games, with a lot of pressure behind it, was going to get bumped back from like I forget, it was like I think it was like 20 it was like early 2010s. Was it 2012,
Mm-hmm.
2013? Fall date and then it got pushed back at like a whole year plus or something like that. I was like, yeah, that happens. You know, and then people are surprised when like Zelda and stuff like that happen. Like there's very few games in the world that have as much clout and economical impact as Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
I mean, love it or hate it, doesn't matter. Grand Theft Auto like changes the landscape. At least the last couple games have, and to the point where once again, people are willing to stay clear out of their out of their way. And if they
This
don't think it's ready yet, that's not surprising. Let them cook.
this is what you would call a benchmark game, where it's like we're here as a video gaming culture or a society. It's like a kind of like a it's like a high it's sort of like a high watermark in games. I think like
Close to a graphical benchmark, which some people might
yeah,
mistakenly
like I
think
know
when
it.
you
I
say
know all you freaking nerds are just like, well, it's not like gonna run the Frozen system. Um, it's you know the
Frostbite.
um yeah Frostbite engine, Frozen Frostbite engine. It's not Crisis 2. Um, you know, Elden Ring is another kind of one similar, but not probably not as much from a graphical standpoint, but from a different sort of angle. That game was, you know, a big, like a high watermark in games. So you want to stay away from that. On the one hand, I'm like, you know, it's like, you know, when is this game going to come out? And I'm not even like a GTA fan. I do want to play this, um, but I actually, you know, more that I think about it. First of all, I learned a long time ago that the correct philosophy to have in video games, and it's not up for debate. This is the correct philosophy, is to be glad when games get pushed back. You don't want a game to come out in in a mess. You just
I think that's
ask CD Projekt Red.
Well, that is what every I think that is what the common, consensus now, especially post crunch, awareness.
Yeah.
I think everyone's okay with being pushed back. People aren't happy, but, anyone with a level head is like, "Yes, but it's being pushed back for a reason."
Yeah.
So, it's when
And
it gets pushed back for, like, a month or a couple weeks, you're like, "Wait, that sounds weird." There's
yeah.
no way you're gonna fix the thing that needs to be, like, it's like, if
Well,
it's broke, it's broke.
yeah, I mean,
The hot fix,
there's
you
levels
know?
of polish, and there's like, well, we did find some other things, or some other nagging issue that's awkward. It's that's not preferred. But like, and the more I thought about this, I was like, well, if they move out of the fall of 25, then which is crowded. I mean, it's just a crowded time, which they're not worried about that because it's GTA, so they're not going to lose any money. But it is a crowded time. So for me, I'm like, May of 2026, if they do hold that date, there's not really a whole lot else in terms of video games uh, that is in my mind as being something that I am going to need to go and do. So I'm kind of like, yeah, this is good. This is good. Um, Probably not a lot of stuff that's going to pop up in that time. Not a lot of stuff that's going to
It's a
want to pop up.
courtesy thing because most things won't pop up in that time now, and
Well,
that's what
that's what I'm
there's the
saying is
common
like,
courtesy, like, they're like, "We're just gonna stay clear of that."
nobody wants, well, no, like nobody actively seeks May in the calendar year in video games. It's like, we are going to want to put out our stuff in May. Well, it's not beating, the fiscal quarter, and it's not beating the fiscal year, because that ends in March. So you're you're starting over there. Everyone's going outside again because it's getting warm. So games and anything indoors related, YouTube takes a kind of a hit in the summer and stuff like that. Um, so it's a good time for me to
Yeah,
be like, that's
Doom,
fine.
Doom. Don't listen to Nick. Of course, you don't wanna come out in May like you're planning on, Dark Ages. Uh,
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's a time. I think it's good overall. But the other side of this is the trailer also dropped more recently. I think a couple days ago or whatever. So it's kind of a longer trailer. I don't want to say it's like a. I don't know how they're classifying this. It seems more like a story trailer to me. There does seem to be a little bit of, I don't want to call it gameplay, more like pseudo gameplay in it. There does seem to be a couple scenes in there where I'm like, okay, that looks like it's just an over the shoulder um, part of the gameplay here a little bit. Some of those things seem a little bit like that, but basically it's kind of a uh, the flashy side of a story trailer. Like, here's some of the characters, here's some key dialogue that sounds flashy, and then here's people coming out of prison or getting guns and like doing stuff and like holding guns on other people, and sort of like, we're gonna go get them, and like, oh, we're running for these guys, stuff like that. And so it's like, okay, but I mean, watching this trailer, I'm like, dang, this game does look really good. It like, from a, it's done and done well and next gen, all that stuff. It does look like a expensive and well made game. So yeah,
So this new trailer focuses around the fact that, like, hey, it's what we kind of suspected from the first trailer, which is like, okay, there's a second protagonist now, and it's supposed to be Jason, is like Duval. They end up having them be kind of more of the focus of this second trailer, and it depends on how much reading the tea leaves slash making a mountain out of a molehill you want to get, because so many people are jumping on this, like, comparing it to the first trailer, which was like a year ago, being like, "Yeah, look at these differences." I'm like, "Dude, you can't rely on the first trailer because it was there as a hype piece." Um, Look
Yeah.
at Halo. Halo has made hype piece trailers all the time where the end game is nothing like what they originally showed, or even the battle sequences or anything. Yeah, so
So much
it's one of
changes in a
those,
year. So much changes. Yeah.
and it's going to change within the next year because this game comes out a full year from now if it releases then, and it doesn't get
That's
pushed
a good
back.
point.
So, but the key takeaway is you got a couple as the main characters. There might be more, who knows? But at least for now, there's two characters, um, and it looks like they're a kind of like a Bonnie and Clyde duo, right? Two people going out doing their thing. To the best of what it looks like, they're just the kind of average Joe kind of person. They're not like a super criminal. They're not like super high stakes bank robbers. They do kind of make it seem like it's more of instead of having like major jewelry heists like in GTA 5, it's more of like more low key robbery theft. At
Yeah.
least what they showed the trailer having like robbing stores. They show dragging a safe, little vault around, kind of like Fast and the Furious style, which okay. Hopefully, it's just one mission because doing that multiple times would be really dumb. Uh, I mean, you're looking at the main character, the looking at Jason's character, and you're like, okay, he looks different from the first game. He's looks more buff. Um, so some people are jumping at the bit, being like, "Oh, San Andreas, you can, fat roll your way to success, right?" Because that was one of the things you can do is you could just eat like, was it bloody burgers and get fat, or you can, work out and get buff and get lean.
Mm,
I don't
maybe.
really. I hope they don't do that. I felt that to be kind of silly. They'll probably do, like they show different uh artwork shows different hairstyles, and I'm like, well, yeah, you were always able to add and cut hair in those games, so that doesn't tell you anything. I mean, it's not Red Dead where like your hair grows in real time or anything like that. It's
Yeah.
at least I don't. They could add it. I mean, they have the game mechanics right there, so they could just be like, let's
Yeah.
just port it over, boom, we have a feature. I mean, I don't find personally that's not necessary for me. I don't care. It's not my cup of tea. So I just want a good gameplay. They do show some extra stuff where like in the trailer, uh, just hijacking like while driving, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm thinking Sleeping Dogs esque, or like not quite Just Cause level of, like Sleeping Dogs did that. Like you jump from one vehicle straight to the hood of the other vehicle. It was insane. And Just Cause, you grapple hook, but no, they're showing some vehicle vaulting mechanics. I'm like, no, that's just probably a scripted cutscene. Like press X to engage cinematic. Like canned cutscene. So
Right.
I don't know. So far it looks good. It looks like it's going to be really big. They showed multiple locations. You have like factory area, swamp area, your Vice City, like Miami Beach equivalent. Um, you have your redneck, gator country, like bordering Georgia, kind of hillbilly lifestyle, whatever. And I'm like, that's awesome. I really hope they have enough to do, because there was certain wafts of dead space in
Five.
GTA 5
Mm,
where it was just like, I have to get through this nothingness to get to where I need to go.
same.
And I don't care. I just want to get to the next scene. I want to get to more action. There's literally one highway on one side, one highway on the other side of the map that connects the two, or you can fly over and it just takes forever. I'm like, this is boring to me.
Mm.
Uh, the sales say otherwise. I mean, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
so
yeah, like they
bigger isn't always better, okay?
well, they hit on something with five with like a kind of a perfect sandbox. They kind of maximized that, and then really the sales, the money made from five, to me, I could be wrong, but to me, it seems like it came from all the online stuff. So they made this really,
Shark cards, yes.
yeah. So they made this really great sandbox and sold gangbusters out the gate. But the reason why they didn't make six sooner is because they're just making too much money off of five as its own engine, as its own kind of franchise. So yeah, like I think that it will probably be a bigger, better version of five with nicer sandbox, but instead of sort of creeping up on, well, what I'm worried about is that instead of creeping up on the multiplayer aspect, that it's kind of going to be sneaky the main thing from the get go, where it's like, yeah, we have a really big game and it's really kick ass, but it's really only big in terms of like the multiplayer aspect. It's not, hey, you can run this single player and play for 100 hours. That's what I'm worried about. I think that they probably won't do that. I think they probably have spent a lot of time, and it's probably going to be really like, holy crap, there's so much to do in this game, and you don't have to play multiplayer, and you can still have so much fun and do all this stuff. But as far as dead zones go, yeah, I don't know. Well, it only time will tell.
Yeah, I feel like these characters, if they make them more um, down to earth, middle class, I guess is the best way to put them. I think it'd be more relatable and more enjoyable than say GTA 5 because
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't care about most of that cast. I mean, it's like at the time Trevor was unique and quirky because he's a loose cannon. He's literally unhinged and crazy. And I'm like, yes, that's kind of
Lethal Weapon.
funny or shocking a little bit at the beginning, and then later on it just becomes annoying.
Mm,
I mean, that game came out on the PS3, so it's just like the. I mean, they did revamp it. They did make it first person later on, mechanics and stuff. And great. I just I've tried multiple times to get through that game, and I just have never been able to finish that GTA game.
yeah,
Um, Story wise, my favorite's still GTA. Well, Vice City's up there, but it's probably GTA 4. I still really like the story
yeah.
to that game, and it was like one of my favorite protagonists. It's like Nico Bellic is still awesome, and I kind of like I said, I kind of hope that they have a compelling story with this one. I know the money's in the online function, but just like a Red Dead game, I really want a good story, and I feel like I can get one with this.
Mm-hmm.
It can be, the concept of down and out, making your way from rags to riches. That's a common trope. I mean, but at the same time, done right, it can do gangbusters.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I imagine that it will be pretty good. I'm actually more excited about this than I was about Red Dead Redemption 2. I didn't want to play it because it was a prequel, and also, I hadn't played the first one and stuff like that. So, and then like I started listening to some of the things, and I was like, yeah, some of that says. I mean, the game seems amazing. Not a big Western guy, but it seemed amazing. But there were also plenty of like things that I heard reviewers talking like, this is really annoying that when you make anybody mad in a town, then you're like just run out of, you just get like dogpiled. And I was like, oh, okay. So, but for this game, I hope that I hope they learn some of the lessons from that, and that they will, um, that it'll be a little bit smoother in those terms. But I'm excited. Um, Next up, not really to do with gaming, um, but I just wanted to mention because I thought it was interesting. Chicago style pizza is coming to Italy, because the new pope is from Chicago. So
Yep, the way God intended. No, I don't even claim Chicago. I moved here. I'm an outsider. I'm not even in Chicago proper. I'm on the outskirts. But anyways,
yeah,
Chicago pizza is good. Italian pizza is way better. But hey, diversity makes things a little bit interesting, except for in America now.
yeah,
Depends on who you ask. So yeah, but
yeah.
no, that's interesting. It's funny. They figured it out only after a day. I'm like, that's way quicker. So
Yeah, but I
than
mean, the first
expected.
conclave didn't work out, and I was walking through my break room, and I saw that on the news. I was like, okay, first conclave, no vote or no consensus or whatever, and I was like, okay. And then I walked back in, and probably like a couple hours later, or maybe it was the next day, and it's like, oh, we got a new pope, and it's like, okay, cool. I'm not Catholic,
Yep.
but it's whatever, dog. Um, so yeah, that's fun. Anyway, moving on. A couple other things here. Xbox branded handheld that looks like it's kind of just a just kind of an Xbox seed up Asus Rogue Ally 2
ROG Ally or ROG, yeah,
Rogue
ROG. It's
ROG
technically it's
Ally.
ROG, Republic of Gamer, but it's whatever.
Yeah, ROG Ally 2. That so there's a anyway. So this is something that's kind of being worked on, and it's I read a little bit about the story. Basically, this is not the crazy weird ultra handheld that Phil Spencer has talked about. That is completely different and better,
Yes,
probably. But this is something that they have been working on behind closed doors. So basically, the FCC came in and took pictures of stuff like they do, and and then those pictures of this leaked. So I was like, okay, that's uh
they could have at least cleaned the screen first because it's all smudgy as hell.
yeah, so you know it's real then. But it's just like, why is I mean, I don't know. I'm like, if you guys are gonna be coming in there and then leaking stuff, even though this isn't the biggest deal in the world, that's not gonna fly. I don't know. So
Blame it on Doge. Just blame it on Doge.
it's got to be Doge. It's got to be Doge. It's got to be Elon. He's using he's trying to get a leg up on the competition. Anyway, so that happened, and then switching over to a different government organization. The FTC loses its appeal to block the Microsoft Activision merger. So this is sort of something I thought was all done and dusted, but there was at least this appeal remaining. Basically, it got shot down, and I think this is sort of the end of it. I think this is the article I read sort of was like, yeah, this is kind of it was already sort of over, but this is sort of definitely the end. So basically, they couldn't show that the merger would hurt the market by Microsoft blocking access to Call of Duty, because you can still get Call of Duty, I think, on a lot of other stuff, and that they couldn't show that it would hurt competition in the larger gaming market or in terms of cloud streaming, because there was a thought that like Blizzard might be going to some cloud streaming, and they couldn't show that. Well, Blizzard would have, but they didn't because of the merger. So they couldn't show those things. So that sort of finally ended. Yeah, it's kind of long and short of that one.
Yeah, real quick though with the previous one, the Xbox handheld, I actually do like the design of it. A lot of people don't, but I mean, I think that it'll feel more comfortable in the hand. Um, and as far as the FTC, like Microsoft Activision merger, I honestly thought you just like you, it was done with. I mean, it's not until I mean, it's one of those things that you can't prove that it's gonna hurt because it's been on multi-platform, and if they say it's gonna be on every platform, then, well, there's no precedent, and then the moment it's passed through, then you're like, "Yes, psych, we changed our minds now, and now it's gonna be," they can,
Yeah.
turn the tide, but at that point, it's too late to, stop it, but yeah, that's neither here nor there. It's just like, okay, um win some, you lose some, I guess, FTC. So,
Yeah, I don't think they really ever had a good chance at stopping it. But yeah, and I'm also kind of with you on the form factor of the Xbox branded handheld, because that's one thing I do hate about the Switch, and I don't think the Switch 2 is gonna solve it either. Is when it is fully like the most absolute unit of a Switch, I'll say, it's like holding a flat board, like a flat piece of cardboard. You want something that fills in the claw shape of your hand, and that is what this
you
Xbox
want
brand
something
handheld.
with girth to fit in the palm of your
Yeah,
hand.
you
Yes,
want a
I
little bit
agree
of
with you
girth,
100%, Nick.
some veins.
So
on there too.
Considering the fact that playing the Vita and the PSP, my Nintendo DS, I've always had aftermarket, you know, docks to grip them essentially, and
Mhm.
even from the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance was just a simple silicone grip, and then the DS had a battery pack afterwards. I think my Vita one and my PSP one were cheap garbage plastic that ended up like getting really like sticky and tacky afterwards. Yes, I know. I'm purposely saying all the things that can make all the wrong thing. Yeah, yeah, double entendres all around.
Well,
So
what you really want is
anyways,
like is you really want like you want it ribbed. You want it ribbed for for your pleasure.
all right.
Um,
Anyways, no,
speaking of
honestly, you do want something that feels comfortable in the palm of your hand.
speaking of
So
Nintendo, um, so most recently there have been some conservative sales projections, I think is what they're really called, by the president of Nintendo. Um, that came out recently, and he was talking about how that they are concerned about tariffs, and therefore they're giving like these sales projections that are conservative and all that stuff, and saying like, well, we don't know this, but that we're assuming kind of this, and thinking like that. But yeah, so that's kind of going on, but at the same time, you know, the uh, the the pre-orders in Japan are like through the roof. Like they can't they're basically already saying that they can't meet that demand, um, and stuff like that. So I don't know, I pulled the story up just to kind of say that I really still think that they should have gone for $500. I think that hindsight is I think that hindsight is going to prove me right on that one. That like $500 would have been, if not the right price point, then an okay price point when everything shakes out. Um, but like it remains to be seen. It's like more and more stuff that we see. It's like, well, this is making everything more expensive and blah blah, and then people are still just
it
like
doesn't matter,
going
man.
crazy.
They can break even on the console. They can make a little bit of money on the console, and then they can then rake everyone else over the coals when it comes to their games. I mean, boom. Even the digital games. I mean, they can be like, yes, it's fun to screw over the customer. Yay! I mean, and then they'll make any extra bonus money off of America because they're like, oh yeah, tariffs. Yeah, sorry guys, tariffs plus tariff
Yeah,
tax. Yeah, just the
but
tax was having to deal with you.
they can still do all that and still raise the price to an even $500. um, yeah. Anyway, so I'm just saying this and being like, yeah. I mean, when you have the pre-orders that are just kind of out of control, um, it just makes me go like, why don't you just keep it? Like why don't you just have it be higher? But it is what it is. The other little Nintendo story here is that Nintendo revises the user agreement um, to allow blocking your Switch if you break that user agreement. Um, Basically, I don't know if they can do this with the Switch One exactly. Like they can't. I don't know if they can block you remotely, other than maybe the store, like your account or something. But basically, with the Switch Two, we imagine, assume, presume that they will be able to block it somehow. The wording is blah blah. This is all the user agreement, and then if you and then you acknowledge that if you fail to comply with the foregoing restrictions, Nintendo may render the Nintendo account services and or the applicable Nintendo device permanently unusable in whole or in part. So basically they could say we could brick your machine. That's what that sounds like to me. Um,
And I can say, forget you, Nintendo. I'm out.
yeah.
Yep. Couldn't pay me. Or you could, but it'd have to be like the check has to have a lot of zeros.
You
Just put
could.
it that way. You could pay me to play Nintendo, but
So like are
no
you
one's
out
gonna
just
pay me to
on
play
this,
Nintendo.
or I mean, cuz it seemed like you were already out.
I was once again. I got kids who are gonna be like, "I wanna play the Marios and the Sonics and stuff," and the Sonics is on, like, the Nintendos, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm bound to inevitable pull that trigger
Mhm.
as much as I hate it, but it's an inevitability." Now I'm gonna be like, "Nah, nah, dog, here, play Doom." Just
Just
play
cor
go ahead,
Yeah.
just go ahead and play the GTA. GTA will have you covered, man. You don't need to play Mario. Grand Theft Auto will teach you all you need to
I
know
was
about
gonna
life.
say he's
You
gonna
don't need to know about kidnapping princesses, constantly. I mean, she at this point, she wants to be kidnapped, okay? She's literally asking for it. Um, I don't tell me why. I don't know their dynamics. Apparently he has a bunch of kids he wants her to raise, but he doesn't actually. I don't know. He's a bad parent. Okay. Nintendo has a dysfunctional family, but you know what? I'm at least they try to hide it. GTA just openly shows you the dysfunction. Okay,
yeah.
so I'm just gonna let my kids be open and honest, and be like, here, if you this is the world. Good luck.
You're gonna know
You
you've
know.
gone too far when your son like pulls out like a gangster roll and goes like and like thumbs off some money and goes like, "Here's money for gas, Dad."
I mean,
Uh,
that's how I learned to count. Isn't that how you learn to count money? I mean, well, you didn't run your own business, mowing lawns, shaking down people at the 10? No? Oh, shoot.
it's
Okay, I
funny.
guess it's just me. All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, this all has to do with the piracy and stuff like that Nintendo has been trying to discourage from existence. So so basically, they're just like if we figure out that you're pirating or participating in piracy or whatever, we're gonna remotely nuke your system. So
I
uh,
think Pal World just recently had to change the way they summon or they're summoning your pets instead of letting them released from orbs and stuff like that. I think they did a couple of things recently to prevent.
you're probably right. That was a story that I almost pulled, but I was like I already had some other stuff, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to pull
I
anything
was
from
like,
Power World.
"Well, Nintendo are being assholes. I figured I'd just bring this
No,
up
that's
now." I
perfectly
mean,
no.
you know,
That's definitely one I almost pulled because it has because I don't know if they say it, but it's assumed that they are changing their stuff because of the lawsuits from Nintendo, and the Pokemon Company or whatever. So that makes
and when
sense.
you copyright game mechanics, you kinda screw over everybody because there's no reason to copyright a game mechanic. The infamous, loading screen, Bandai, or is that Bandai Namco? Or is the
The
loading screen mini
Galaga,
game.
yeah, the
Yeah,
Galaga
it's just
mini
or
game.
just
Yeah.
having mini games in your loading screen, like, back then. Nowadays, we don't really have them so much, so we can't even read the text pop-ups
Well,
anymore.
I mean, like our patent law is ridiculous. I mean, like what is it, like 20 years or something? Um,
Not just the US, though, it's like a lot of these things are kinda
I am
international because
as I'm
you're
saying, but
patenting.
like let's just start with the U.S. Like the patent law is like crazy long. It's like it should. I mean, I think that there's a reasonable amount of time that you should be able to hold an idea and capitalize on it or whatever. But like you shouldn't really be able to hold it for a generation, or even I think 7 years is what it was at one point. I think 7 years is probably too long. It's like, hey man, like 3 years, maybe five. It's shit or get off the pot, bro. Make your money, and then you've got to let this technology be good for mankind at some point. Um,
Just a quick Google search pulled up, and I just did like video game patent laws last for how long, and it's like, uh,
Not China,
so not
yes.
sure if there's a caveat, but it says these last for 20 years in the U.S.
20 years is
Uh,
insane. Like,
yeah,
oh my gosh. That
for
means
sure.
that
I mean,
somebody had an idea for like some BlackBerry app in 2005, and you can only just now use that same patent on a Android or iPhone or whatever. Whatever. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
wait, just because I wanted to say this, the Nemesis system, the infamous Nemesis system
Yes.
that everyone wanted to see in games, expires in 2036,
Yep.
August 11, 2036. That's stupid.
We only have to wait
Uh,
11
that
years. 11 years and
I mean,
a couple months.
and you know how many games Warner Brothers is gonna come out with that? They're probably gonna come out with 1 between now and then that incorporates it, but then they're gonna cancel, like, a dozen.
Well,
They're
Joe,
gonna they're gonna come out with
it's
them and cancel a
it's
bunch.
your own fault for not wanting to engage in all their microtransactions in Shadow of Mordor 2.
I have that game, but I don't remember how I got it. It was probably given to me at some point. It was probably a free add-on, but I legit have that game, and I'm like, but I know I didn't play it. I just never got around to it, but I was just like, I think it was a free game from, I don't know, some service, and I was just like, I did play the first one, but the second one I did not touch.
Oh my god. That's so funny. All right. Um, moving right along. Oh, but the thing I was going to say about Power World is like, yeah, I'm sorry, Power World, you have to change your stuff, but you guys knew that you were dancing very close to the line on a lot of those character models. So,
Okay, character models aside, patenting the mechanic of capturing things in an orb and having to summon them from an orb and then the other thing they're changing is I think is hang gliding. They can't use their monster friends for gliding. They actually have to use a legit hang glider now. Um,
I'm not going to
which
say that they should be crucified for every single little thing, but the the monsters looking very similar to Pokemon, and the orb. I mean, you can't like you know what you're
I
doing.
want them to change it into a box. I want them to make it into like the Hellraiser box and be like, summon the Dark Lord. You know, like I just do that. I'm surprised that Nintendo's not trying to sue them for glider mechanics, being like, if it wasn't for Zelda, we wouldn't glide anywhere, or some crap like
Well,
that. And then
Zelda
Square Enix
did
would be like,
invent
oh,
it.
excuse me, parachutes were just cause, and then everyone else is yeah, let's patent parachutes in games.
I remember when I think it was when Breath of the Wild was coming
Trilogy.
out. There was some reviewer commentator that I was listening to, and they had been at a pre-show for it. And the Nintendo person there, you know, talked about like this. I'm probably butchering this story, but basically, the Nintendo person there was like, "See that mountain? You can go there." And the reviewer was like, "Yeah, like we've been able to do that since Skyrim, you know, uh, for like 6, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years probably." But yeah, so I feel like Nintendo kind of does that a lot. Like, oh, like we invented like gliding. It's like we've been able to do it in Just Cause, right? I mean, like it's been around for a minute.
There's been a ton of games where that things like that's been happening, but anyways, no, it's once again, Breath of the Wild got a lot of credit. Certain things are legit, like the way the game design itself, and there's a lot of good things behind it. But a lot of the stuff is like everyone's like, "This is great, this is revolutionary." I'm like, "This has been in other games, and it's just amazing for those who've had their head in the sand and only play Nintendo." But that's why I've kind of given up on them. Um,
All right.
you know, I never decided to pull that trigger and mod my Switch. Um, but I do know for a fact that I'm not getting a Switch 2 anytime soon. So the soonest I'll get a Switch 2 is I'll wait till the OLED version comes out. And if my kids demand like Mario Kart or something like, cool guys, I got it on the Switch 1. And then they'll be like, I hate you, Dad, because it is the old thing and we need the new thing. And I'm like, oh, is that what you want? I'll play grandpa, like being like, oh yeah, this is the Switch, right? This is what you wanted. And they're like, we got the wrong one. What are you doing to us? And I'm like, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I think your kids are probably going to go to school and see Switch games and be like, "Why isn't there blood spray?" Uh, and I think they're just gonna be like, "I think I'm past this already."
Super off topic. I did show my kid the RoboCop TV show. And it is so bad. I forgot how bad it was. Um but it gets him that RoboCop fix because he's like, I love RoboCop now. I'm like, but it
He
is
doesn't know what's good and
the
bad.
enemy.
He just knows RoboCop
No,
and
no,
Ro-
he doesn't.
RoboCop.
He doesn't. But he
Yeah.
knows it's a RoboCop. It's a robot, and he's a cop, and he shoots at bad guys. Um, not a because, but it's like a Y7 rating. So like every bad guy he shoots, it's like I'm gonna shoot the edge of a bookshelf, and the bookshelf is going to fall on that. I'm going to shoot a chandelier, and the chandelier is going to fall on him. Like
That's
there is no
funny.
actual physical murder, which is hilarious.
It's like
The
that's like the
no, it is.
collateral. It's like the collateral. You killed him. No, I didn't. The bullets in the fall killed him. It's like
Yeah, exactly. It's super funny because it's like all the thing like the villains, they have certain scenes and like episode 1, it's like they're in a lab and I'm like, "I know this lab. This is the same exact way they shoot Mystery Science Theater 3000." It is like really tight quarters, like almost fisheye lens just to make it feel bigger, and it's like the really garbage lighting. I'm like, I'm pretty sure Mystery Science Theater had better production value than this, and it's hilarious to watch. But it's safe for my kids in theory, so I'm like, all right. But
yep,
it's like this is, and it's like super really bad melodrama, just outrageously funny to watch. Uh, but not sober. That's all I gotta say is just
yeah,
no. And once again, I can't justify showing my kid the real RoboCop. My parent, it was a different era when I watched it. My folks showed it to me. My father then
yep.
years later is like, "I made you turn your head at certain parts." I'm like, "Thank you,"
You
because I would have probably been traumatized, you
thanks,
know?
Dad, for only being 95% negligent. But okay,
I mean, it was the early '90s.
it
I mean,
was
Rambo was a cartoon. Yeah, it's
it was the grunge era. You know, hyperviolence was the thing. Crack had just come out not too long ago. Um, it was wild
but
times.
yeah, it's one of those things that's like, yes, I decided to show my kids some RoboCop, and it was just hilarious. And it's just like, I just they all the bad guys, especially after playing Rogue City, which is an amazing game. Like those guys, those they did so much things right. But the one thing I have to give the TV show a lot of credit, they have random news reels which are very tongue in cheek and very awesome. They have random commercials, and they have this random. It looks like almost reminds you of an Animaniacs style commercial, like, where they are talking, like and they're like, "Oh, yeah, like, Mom, Dad, let's go to the shopping mall," and it's a family of 4 going to the shopping mall, like, "We don't have money. Don't worry, get the OCP credit card," and they all turn into superheroes, like, with wearing green and green masks and stuff because they're all super powered by money, and then the OCP credit card, "With a low rate of, like, 35% or something like that." I'm like, I'm pretty sure the Amazon card gives you like 30% interest rate or something like that. So I'm like, that's pretty funny that like that dystopian future back then is the current we're at now, pretty much. Um,
Yeah.
so Amazon is the OCP is what I'm saying, what I'm getting at here now. So if we get a RoboCop, it's going to be a discount RoboCop from like with an Amazon cardboard box layout. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, well, that's probably what's going to happen. Um, Last
okay.
couple things here. Fallout Season 2 wrapped filming. I didn't know this, but apparently the LA fires had stopped them being able to film for a little while. So anyway, they finished up the filming, but there's no release date yet on that. People are just estimating and this is just people. People are just estimating that it's going to probably be fall 2026. So we actually have quite a bit of time left to wait on that one. I thought it would be.
Dude, that would have been great for, like, like, real effects, right? Just be like, "No, no, no, guys, let's go in there and shoot." I mean, granted, if this was a different country and not one with super, like, like, harsh laws about filming in hazardous zones, but, I mean, just the B-roll alone, like,
Like filming as the building is burning around them. Uh, I mean, the some of
"Enter Jeff, go out there and film. Just do a drive-by, alright? Have Ted aim the camera out the window and just film the mansion on fire, let's just go. Have the people look really sad, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty dystopian there for a minute in LA, with some of the footage I saw just of like whole neighborhoods just gone, you know. So anyway, that's one of the shows I'm looking forward to, but it seems like there's going to be quite a bit, you know, between now and then, so to fill my time. And then last little bit is Mafia 4, game I know that you have played the other Mafia games, so imagine you're excited about it. is launching in August, and the price has been set to $50. So pretty good.
Yeah, doing a Claire Obscure here, right? Expedition 33, dropping the price, making it the most affordable it's, a game around. Uh, Also kind of tempering expectations, I believe, right? You come in, the trailers make it seem really grand, but at the same time, there's only gonna be so much replayability, I think, because of this, and it may be a little on the shorter side, but with that kind of price, it's like it's really inviting. It's letting people know, "Hey, we're being, customer conscious out there," and it's funny because I recently actually, thanks to Amazon Prime Gaming, I've recently collected, like, I realized through them through slash GOG, I have the entire trilogy of Mafia definitive editions
Okay.
uh, on there now. So if you have Amazon Prime, it's a little bit of a hassle, but it's worth it. Just every now and then do like Prime Gaming, and like you'll see the free games that they have to offer. And then it requires you to open up or have accounts to Epic Games, of course, Amazon and GOG. Uh, but you can get a lot of free games that way.
Yeah.
So about once a month, I will do that, and I will then have like no joke, 10 to 20 emails in my inbox being like, "You got a new game. You activated a new game. This, that, the other." So uh, I think recently I got also through Microsoft. They have games on Microsoft Windows and Xbox. I have both uh, the expansion or the sides. What's that? Wolfenstein Old Blood
Mm.
and the other Wolfenstein spin-off game, which I'm drawing a blank on right now. But anyways, those were free on both for Windows, Microsoft Windows, and Microsoft Xbox.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you're content with playing games from 2 or more years ago, and there's a lot of good stuff from 2 or more years ago. If you're content with that, you basically don't have to spend hardly any money. You could probably. I wonder what like the min max is for that, because between all of the like humble bundles, if you're willing to watch, and if you're on some of these like some of these other subscription programs and stuff like that, then and Epic and stuff. There's a you could have. I mean, my Epic library is pretty big, and there's only probably 5% of the games in there that I would actually like to play, and 1% that I'm like that's actually really good. But still, and I haven't even like I miss month or miss weeks, and I haven't even probably done it as much as you have. So if you started from the beginning and you just never, if you just always checked it, and then all the other stuff, there's a lot of ways to buy a lot of cheap games. But I'm excited for
yeah,
Mafia 4 as well.
so Hangar 13, I really do like the stuff they do. I mean, it's like I'm excited about this new Mafia game. I like the other Mafia games as well. I mean, I even like the one XCOM game, Declassified that they did. I platinum that one as well, or 100% of it. I think I played that one on PC, but I generally really like a lot of their stuff. So Hangar 13, they don't get enough credit. I think they're a really solid company. And when it comes to the new Mafia game, it looks really awesome. I have solid expectations for them. I'm not thinking it's going to be like the most groundbreaking thing, but Mafia 3 was super solid. I really liked it. I played it a bunch. I did not unfortunately play the DLC.
Mm-hmm.
Uh and that's one of the things is I unfortunately I played it on multiple platforms, but I think I played it mostly on my PS4.
Yeah.
And so I did not actually now that I have the complete edition or the definitive edition of Mafia 3 on my PC, it's like I want to play some of the DLC because one of the extra stuff is like uh, with the CIA operative friend of yours, and then like they at the end they talk about like the assassination of Kennedy and some other deep state stuff, which was like really fun concept to play into. I don't know if how far they go into any of that, but I know it's a story about based around him and a couple other DLCs. Anyways, that game was super awesome. This one being, mostly about the idea of being in Sicily and kind of starting out, and I think I don't have any reason why I wouldn't think they would knock it out of the park. essentially is how it goes.
Yeah.
For $50, like I said, once again, it tempers expectations. It realizes like, hey, you're not going to get that quadruple A experience.
Quadruple
But
A.
at the same time, they're not raking you over the coals and trying to milk you for everything you got. They are being fair, and therefore you can come at it with a clear conscience. And it's most definitely it's already quote unquote a discounted rate, right?
Yeah.
When you compare it to what they could be charging you. They could even just be charging you the standard 60 or 70. 70 is almost now standard. Considering the fact that Xbox said anything more than 70 was like egregious, and that was only a year ago. And then now they're like, we're jumping on this $80 bandwagon because we're a bunch of
It
money
was
hungry
egregious, and
cars.
now it's not.
Yeah. Yay,
Yeah,
Phil Spencer,
I think
you
I, I
know.
think I, I think I had a rant a couple weeks ago on games being all different prices and craziness now. So I am not ready to backtrack on that completely yet. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there. But $50 is a nicer price than other prices that are higher than that. So yeah, I'm also looking forward to this game. I'm gonna try to play it as well at the same time as you, and so we'll have a grand old time. But yeah, all right, that's
Yeah,
it for
I
the
mean,
news.
considering the fact oh, dude, considering the fact that it's a $50 game, I mean, what is this, 2004 again? I mean, it wasn't until the 360 that they upped it to $60, right?
Yeah,
Jeez, you know. So,
party
alright,
like
good on
it's
them,
2004.
and that's good for the news. I mean, you got a lot of good stuff in there. We went longer than expected, so, yeah, if you guys made it to this point, well, good on you. I'm sorry that you're into that, but we appreciate it, and yeah, this has been ADP, episode 126. All right, Nick, what are the words of wisdom you have for the people out there?
Um, just I don't know. Make sure that you always recycle your toilet paper little cardboard thingies.
Yeah, okay, sure. I mean, so it turns out if you fold them in half and stack them within each other, you can fit about 10, and then you can use it as kindling. Just do a little, just light it like a little Molotov, just put a little toilet paper in it, light the end, use that as your campfire starter. That actually works really well. Okay. Don't ask me how I know that because I'm weird. All right. Well, anyways, Nick, just be careful out there. We are going to be taking a little break. We'll still have an episode out there, but we'll have like a little canned filler episode talking about an anime that we like. And hopefully, Nick won't get mauled by a bear. Uh, bring your bear spray and or just make sure to trip your mother when you run away from the bear. Sorry, Nick's mom. You had to go.
It, it was either it was either you or me. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we're
He doesn't
going.
do the podcast, okay? So no love.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, we're gonna I'll put something out, and yeah, it'll be a grand old time.
All right. Next cast will be an early cast, but the cast after that will be a hiatus.
Mhm.
So thanks, guys. Until next time, ADP, take it easy.
Bye.